All right, good morning. How's everybody doing today? So we made it to Wednesday, like I figured we would. And this is where, to me, the roll count begins. It'll either go down tonight, tomorrow, and we're getting soon, I do believe, but we'll see. So, in my last video, I talked about this thing, and I also talked about, the mirror effect, and I don't think I explained it very well. And that could just be me, I don't know. So, like I said, we are one of the layers of the onion, right? Layers of the onion. We are the Jesus story. So, Jesus being the middle candlestick. So, let's just pretend there's a mirror here for a second. Or if you're standing in front of a mirror, right? So, if you're standing there in front of a mirror and you raise your right hand, in the mirror, your reflection is raising its left hand, right? So that's why when we look at things like, hang on, this, right? This is like an image of our sun that they want to show us. They call this over here the eastern limb, right? And they even call this the earth facing disk. Okay, and why is this the eastern limb? Because if you let's just put the United States right here, right? This is actually the west coast, and this would be the east coast. Mirror, mirror, it's a reflection. You raise your right hand, or in this case, you'd raise your left hand, and it's the right hand, the east. Mirror, mirror, okay? Like I said, the sun is a reflection of where you lived. Children of the Sun, Billy Thorpe, right? So here's another one for you. I'm going to let this play for a minute. You see that spark jumping out of there when you unplug? Boom, right? Okay. And I put that in there because of, we'll get to that in a minute. I've never showed this map. This is at the UN. Okay. Although I have shown this map before. 1, 2, 3. Put the middle candlestick right here. Okay, that's one dome we're under. That was another dome. And each time it gets smaller and smaller, right? And there's a reason for that. And it's a very strange one. I'm going to try something just doing it right here. Tell me about homunculus. Oh, see.
Homunculus is a psychological horror manga and a Netflix film.
Yeah, I didn't know this was an actual 2021 movie.
As distorted monsters, exploring identity
So
and
we
social
might have
pressures.
to,
It's a 15-volume series, not the 1980s.
man. All right, hang on. Let's try it this way. What are the 7 types of homunculus?
The 7 types of homunculus are artificial humans, each representing a different sin. They are pride, lust, greed, sloth, wrath, gluttony, and envy, created by Father.
Okay. So that right there is, the 7 deadly sins, right? And I'll let you do your own research on homunculus. I found this interesting. This came out of yesterday's news. And they call this the, ISWA graph. We've got all these supposed satellites that monitor things that are going on, with our magnetosphere, things with the sun. But what I find interesting about this, okay, so remember I said we've gone into the canal, so to speak. And that's exactly what this whole edge right here looks like, right? Doesn't it look like, come on, stay with me. Doesn't it look like, dropping off of a ledge? Dropping off of a ledge. Again, that's just me. So let's go to the part of the Bible that discusses the dead in Christ will rise first, right? And then those that are living will be transformed. And that was the title of my last one, right? The transformation. Everybody gets all ooga goo goo about, oh, these shape shifting demons. We're all shapeshifters. How do you think you got from the original shape to this shape to any other shape we're about? And when it says trans, that's it. It just, think of like the Incredible Hulk. He gets all this gamma ray radiation put into him, and now with him it's this slow, painful, tears the room apart, blah 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 transformation. Ours will be in the blink of an eye. And so let's do okay, so sleep. When you go to sleep at night, you are putting yourself in a state that is closer to death than any other point in your life until you actually achieve death. And nobody dies. That was the whole point of that spark coming out of the plug. You know, people say that they see a light. If you do your research, they'll tell you that as soon as the sperm touches the egg, it creates a spark. And you know, so like when I did the post about my brother dying, I don't, you know, just his vessel that he was in died. He just went to another body. We call it reincarnation. And we reincarnate here not because it's some school that you've got to learn. It is. It kind of is, but at the same time, it's not. You know, as it was before, so it shall be again. You know, I've said this before in videos. You can look at, say, a 40, 50, 60-year-old man act like a kid sometimes. You know, a 5-year-old throw a temper tantrum, whatever. You know, just because somebody appears a certain age doesn't mean they are. I've said it forever. You know, if you were three years old when you got here, you're going to be 3 years old when you leave. That's why some people just don't ever, you know, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so sleep puts you closer to death, okay? And I've always said that if you just look at the word Christ, just replace consciousness in there. So basically at night when you go to sleep, you are unconscious. That would be, you know, the dead in Christ, right? Because it all happens at once. It's not like this group's going to go. That just has to do with the dark side of the earth, the people who are sleeping, the ones that are dead in consciousness, because they're unconscious at that point, right? And the others will be transformed. It all happens to everybody at the same time. Nobody gets left behind. You know, that's part, because that's already happened. I've been through all this in my videos. So anyway, and that's where you get into, like, even say the colors. You know, I can't, you know, like right here, Earth is moving through a supernova remnant. And I've said before that, and they'll even tell you this in science. Everybody wants to believe the science. You can believe part of it or none of it, but it's part of the clues of what's going on here, right? So if you destroy the Son of Man, let's say, you're going to get a remnant, but it also, what do they tell you? When a star dies, it creates a black hole, right? So that's where we are, the void. And this, yeah, so this, you know, is your 3-ring circus. These are the 3 domes that are in the menorah. This is actually, like I said, at the UN. They put this stuff out there for a reason. There's that. Okay, right here. Black and white are generally considered neutrals or non-colors. So why in this world do we call black people colored? Nobody has any color here. Everything, even our color, is shades of gray. You know, when man came, and I've said this is why we're part of the Jesus story, is because, you know, he was credited with not having an earthly father, right? Okay, well, when original man got here, he didn't have an earthly father either. He just appeared. And he did, and like I said, he came out of the ground at what we would consider probably the age of 21, fully formed, ready to go. And his color was probably based on, so let's get into the, you know, the specifics here. So in this reality, so we'll do the as above, so below, right? Because there are similar features in both realities. That's why we're on the hopscotch board and we have two squares, right? It's both those realities have something similar taking place at that 1,000-year marker. Okay? So, if energy, we'll say the Son of Man breathed into the ground and created man, right? I've talked about this. His true color is going to be based on probably the color of that son, the dad, and mom, right? Just like here, you get components of both your parents. You might have your mother's eyes and your dad's nose, and it doesn't matter, right? Okay, so mom has the ability to take straight energy and turn it into man, right? So that's how you make something out of nothing, provided here, right? And you get parts from both. Okay? This is why, you know, and plus, okay, there's also a an old saying out there, right, that has to do with being greater than the sum of its parts, which we are. You know, I showed, and I see, and this is the thing. You know, videos, people, you know, can like, or it'll show views and it'll show, you know, comments. You know, the posts, I don't know who all sees those. You know, because when you do your videos, you know, it doesn't really tell you anything about your posts, and I don't even know if what people see in the way of posts, because I've done this in a post before too. But you get features of both the mom and the dad. And so our skin probably has to do with probably the sun here and the birthstone that he came out of. Right? That's just the way I see it. So this guy would be able to work energy just like mom and dad, okay? And what do I mean by that? You know, in the Bible, and I'm going to give you a good example. I've said a long time ago that, you know, when I was 5 years old, I ran out of church screaming. And I didn't even look at a Bible, consider looking at a Bible again until after I saw Star Wars. Because like I showed in the last video, you know, you have the Space Force logo for Star Trek. That's one science fiction type thing. And I've also talked about Star Wars, right? So Star Trek comes from, you know, like I said, that Space Force here. That comes from here, down below. Okay? Star Wars is probably an upper reality. Okay? And why do I say that? Well, because, again, I didn't even get back into the Bible until I watched Star Wars, because there's certain things that happen in Star Wars that are mentioned in the Bible, and this is a video for a band called Pop Evil, and it's called Footsteps, and you should really go see it. But see how he's levitating those rocks? Okay? I'm just saying. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And here in a minute, he's throwing that one with just his mind. And then is this the part here? I'm kind of fast forwarding and I'm not really playing the music because even though I'm not, okay, here we go. You will be able to move mountains. And he's standing on water while he's doing it. Okay, I'm just I'm just saying that's just how I see it. Okay, so your color in reality is probably based on your birthstone and the color of your sun, so to speak, the son of man. Which is why, I've just been in my previous videos of what a couple years ago was talking about the color blue. Because even in the Bible, it talks about sapphire. The talks about the kingdom, the throne, so to speak, being like glass. It's smooth. And so the part ape in us that was given to us, we don't come from there. That is why the hair industry is like $1 billion frickin' dollars. You got black women that want to straighten their hair, white women that want to curl their hair. Everybody's waxing and bikini waxing and shaving this because nobody wants the hair. I'm just, so when it talks in the kingdom about the foundation, that's the base. Like right here, we're carbon based. Okay, so we're going to what would be considered by many to be a crystalline base. Okay, so our skin is probably going to be nice and smooth like glass. We won't, it is what it is. Just like the moon is full of craters, right? And your skin is full of pores. It's all the same thing. So, so we did the whole birthstone thing. Mirror, mirror, Star Wars, Star Trek. God, I don't even know what else. Like I said, it just is what it is, and I don't think any of this matters, quite honestly. I've felt for a long time that it's only going to turn out one of two ways. We're either going to remember nothing of this, or we might remember parts of it, but it'll seem more like a bad dream, so to speak. And so I tried talking about the meeting that Trump's going to be having with the Chinese leader. And this is what I'm talking about. So if that was on the 17th, if that's going to be on the 17th and we were here, those are the 3 days going forward from the 14th to the 17th. If you go backwards those 3 days, that puts us on the 11th, right? Back around that first contact. That's what I was saying. It's not going to show up exactly. You're not going to have Trump meeting China here and Trump meeting China here, and then, here's your mirror and go, oh, look, it's the same on both sides. That's why I was looking at the full moon here this month, split the difference in the middle. That's why I said we might have to go there. I don't know. We may still even have to go beyond Thursday. It's not looking that way to me based on some of the comments you all are throwing in the comment section down there. A lot of you are looking at these similar dates. So we'll just ride this storm out together, so to speak, right? And I'm sorry this video got a little long. I try not to get them this long, but I did want to cover a few things, clarify the mirror thing, how it shows up in the sun disk. The dead in Christ, those are just the ones that are sleeping. It's all going to happen at the same time. Just one end of the planet, right? I mean, it's going to pass through. It's going to happen really fast. Okay? But one part of the planet's going to get there just ever so slightly quicker than the other one, right? I can't explain it. It is what it is. So anyway, that'll be enough for me today. You know, I appreciate all of you. You know, even the ones that leave negative comments, because that always gives me something else to talk about as well. Not necessarily the person that leaves them, but just, you know, the point of certain things, which there isn't. So, y'all have a great day. Take care, and we'll just tick, tick, tick away and watch what happens, right? All right. Love y'all. Bye bye.